So today, as we know, we had an interest of discussing and knowing more about the eugenics and marriage reformations, more for our understanding. And then, thankfully, Dr. Vaidehi Mae, who is my eldest sister, she is in Germany now. She joined us. Now, before I actually turn over to her, all I wanted to say was uh, topics like these. All we all understand. We are all satsangis, and we are devoted to Thakur. So sometimes somebody can seek the truth through the pursuit of knowledge. Somebody will follow what Thakur has, by practicing, and then somebody can just surrender with the devotion and seek the same truth. So every individual, is open. There are different paths. As I understand, Thakur's philosophy is all inclusive. I look at it as do's and don'ts, and subjects like this are, it's very difficult to even get the whole gist of it in even 20 minutes because it's so vast. And I always feel that one has to, when the subjects are related to human life and growth and human aspects, they need to be understood in its entirety, with all the context and perspective. So that's all I would say about any philosophy or even subject today. And this has been a very interesting subject. Now, the reason I wanted to, uh, I thought Dr. Vaidehi would be appropriate person, because when we all got initiated from Acharya Dev, Sri Dada, and then I have seen her in my life. We look up to her. She not only has the scientific background, the education, all the credentials. I have seen how she has carried herself as a satsangi, as a mother, as a wife. To me, that is very important. And to me, when somebody actually is practicing Thakur's philosophy, ideology, the best to their abilities, it does provide, lot of credibility and respect to their knowledge. So that's the only reason I proposed her name. From background, by her background, I won't take much time. I know we are all keen to listen to her. By background, she is a PhD in I can't tell you exactly the specific subject, but related to human genetics. She's done a postdoc in Chicago. I know she has traveled many places in the world, related to this subject. And I look up to her when she speaks. So I'm sure we will all enjoy. My only, when I asked Vaidehi Didi to share her thoughts, I told her a few things. I said, we are in present times, but I would like to know from her how she has interpreted and how she finds things very relevant even today, and what she thinks or believes is a future scope for understanding such a subject, and being able to convince ourselves with a very good clarity and conviction that when Sri Thakur has said it, it is the truth. Now it is for us to understand and practice. So with that, I will turn over. Thanks for giving me 2 minutes. I'll turn over to Dr. Vai.
Jai Guru all. Am I audible?
Yes, ma.
Okay. I would just like to switch back to audio mode. Thank you for my Yogesh for your kind words for this introduction. I take it in that responsibility for us when we say that we are followers of Sri Thakurji, we are satsangi, is always more. We have to be always conscious while discussing or commenting or presenting our views on not only on this topic but anything when it comes to sharing what Param Premamay Sri Thakurji has said. We cannot say that we are able to comprehend it in totality, but we best is we pray at his lotus feet that he gives us that radiance of knowledge, courage, with which we are able to plunge into this incredible ocean of his sayings, teachings, philosophy. So to begin with, I offer my deep prostrations at the lotus feet of Param Premamay Sri Sri Thakur Ankul Chandraji Paramaradhya Jagat Janani Shri Shri Badima. My deep pranam to Param Pujyapat Sri Sri Pitrudev, Param Pujyapat Acharya Dev Sri Sri Radha, Pujaniya Babaida, Pujaniya Sipaida, Pujaniya Binkida, and all revered members of Thakur family. I am very thankful to the organizers, to Yogesh, to Rajarshida, for giving me this opportunity to participate, because I consider that every moment that we are living is possible only due to the grace of Dayal Thakur. So this opportunity also, I take it as a way that it has been come in my way to teach me something, to improve on, and to become a better satsangi. All the Guru Bhai, Guru Bhagini, Rutvik, all who have this satsang, please accept my heartiest Jai Guru and Pranam. As Yogesh gave a short introduction about what we are going to discuss on, the topic is very, very interesting. As a scientist, it is definitely dear to me, but it is equally challenging and sometimes controversial. We will be looking at it with the simple objective that how best we are able to understand what Sri Sri Thakurji has to say or has given us in relation to Suvivaha and Suprajanan, marriage reforms and eugenics. Now, whatever are his sayings, his thoughts, they are not just his views, okay, not just theoretical deliberations, but they are based upon the practical application of the principles in this context of marriage system and eugenics as well in his own life, and by his blessings and encouragement and direction in the lives of many devotees. And therefore, these sayings are impregnated with the knowledge which is based on experience. And in the modern era of information, science, and technology, if we are able to comprehend them in a right way, then they would inspire researchers to experiment and verify these principles in the light of advanced scientific research methods and encourage young minds to apply them in their life when they are going to enter into this phase of grihasthashram, getting married. So before we try to understand the philosophy of Sri Sri Thakurji related to eugenics and marriage reforms, I think it is appropriate to have a quick look into its scientific background. Interest in developing humans before they are born is widespread, largely because of the curiosity to know our beginnings and an urge to improve the quality of human life. Embryonic development, when we talk about, leading to the formation of various tissues, organs, systems in the body, is the result of numerous morphological and biochemical events, wherein both the nature, that is the genetic constitution, and nurture, the effect of environment, both of them, they play a critical role. Now, in the modern era of science and technology, which is driven by advances in genetic engineering, no doubt they have given us solutions to tackle many of the problems related to having a healthy baby, good progeny. They are able to provide solutions for overcoming birth defects, ensure the birth of a healthy baby. However, the technology of genome editing, to give you this example, which is applied to plants and animals to manipulate their genetic makeup, now includes humans as well. And this technology is being developed at such a speed that the scientific community even is worried, because they say that it has become difficult to keep up with the ethical and social implications. Many scientists are raising the voice that before implementing such technology, we need to address various issues, social, environmental, and ethical, related to these genetic modifications, because they are going to be passed on to the subsequent generation, what we call it as a germline modification. So there's a fear that such technologies would allow a backdoor entry to eugenics. Now, all of we as Satsangi understand eugenics as important science, which Sri Thakur ji has time and again emphasized on and given a very beautiful solution which can be applied to current age. But if you look into the history, or even if you Google, you will see that eugenics, the term which was coined historically, was by a British scholar, Sir Francis Galton, back in 1883, who was a cousin of Charles Darwin. And he used the term meaning well-born. What was the intention? He believed that human race could be improved. It could be improved by directing its future if we are able to develop scientific methods to selectively breed individuals who have desired traits. So today, with the technology, it is possible to more directly alter the genetic composition individual. Now, to give you a quick glimpse, the eugenic movement even started in the US late in 19th century. At that time, unlike Britishers, the eugenists in the United States, they focused on more to stop the transmission of undesirable traits. But what happened to it later on? Later on, it went into the problem, because most of the resolutions which were made in place, they thought that a sterilization of the unfit individuals is a solution to avoid them from passing their negative traits to their future further generations. And then all of us know the dark side of the history. Even eugenic movement in the United States slowly lost favor over the time, and especially it started waning by the end of World War II. And all of us know that the horrors of Nazi Germany, which became apparent when Hitler used eugenic principles to justify atrocities. Eugenics lost all its credibility as a field of study. What does this indicate? This shows that the intention behind the research and the use of technology makes it beneficial or detrimental. And so it really depends upon the individual, upon the person who invents and applies such knowledge and technology. On his mindset, his goals in life, the instincts or the traits which he carries by birth, the environment in which he is nourished, and all these uh, ideas or objectives that direct his actions. Godly men take birth in every family was the dream of our seers. And they are therefore regarded as a scientist of life who had evolved social system to enable the all-round growth and development of every individual by inspiring the person to be active in the collective welfare of others, keeping harmony with the environment. Sri Thakurji says that every human being is pure, perfect, and he is Parampita's Santan, replica of the source. The apparent degeneration in the man is then, Sri Thakur says, is due to diseased condition of the nature, the person in him. So if a man is cured of his disease in nature through proper treatment, again he will shine in his pristine purity and display his intrinsic divinity. And for this, Sri Thakurji has given emphasis on these two aspects. One is proper marriage system, and the second one is the eugenic principles to be followed for begetting good progeny. And there he has emphasized on Arya Krishti. We often read a lot about how Dayal Thakur has praised Arya Krishti, Sanatan Vedic culture and tradition. So if we quickly look into the history of human civilization on this planet, what do we find? That Greek, Roman and other civilizations did flourish, but over a period of time, they were wiped off as the waves in the vast ocean that rush to the shore and are destroyed. So these ancient religions of civilizations, or they lost their identities and either merged with Islamic or Christian traditions. The only civilization that could sustain its culture and tradition, despite the hits and blows over the centuries of hundreds of foreign invasions, is Arya Krishti, the Sanatan Vedic Dharma Sanskriti. So, what is so unique about this tradition and culture is that it is not a product or a creation of a particular philosopher or a thinker. Unlike others, like Christianity, Islam, which originate from a prophet and end with it, meaning that they have a limited expanse. But Arya Krishti is based upon the realization by the seers, what we call them as rishis, literally meaning those who have seen, realized the truth. So the seers of they have realized the eternal principles of life and growth, of evolution of mankind from manhood to godhood, and of the way and means to reach this supreme goal. Therefore, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha are the four pillars of Arya Krishti, and they are called as purushartha. In short, the dharma shows the path of virtues, called as a shreyas. It awakens the viveka buddhi, conscience in us, taps our hidden potential so that the individual can utilize them in the direction of being and becoming and accomplish all the four purusharthas. It is said that Achara paramo dharma, achara paramam tapaha, achara paramam jnanam, acharat kimna sadhyate. That means good conduct is the highest dharma. It is the greatest penance, tapas. It is also the greatest knowledge. So, what can't be achieved through good conduct? Everything can be achieved. That's what it means. In the modern age, we see the principles of Arya Krishti, the Arya Sanatan Dharma, are embodied in the life of Sri Sri Thakur Ankul Chandra Ji and in the Acharya Parampara which he has given to us. So his life and teachings are inseparable. And therefore we see in him all the qualities of the past prophets, seers, yogis and saints, and we call him fulfiller the best, the living embodiment of Dharma. Because all his sayings are based upon realization. Sri Sri Thakur says science is the handmaid of Dharma. And he, in his life, experimented keenly, like a scientist, observed in unbiased way, and reached at the root cause to know how the thing exists in totality. And therefore, his philosophy is all inclusive. There is no aspect, directly or indirectly, which is related to the life that he has not touched upon. And there, Sri Sri Thakurji emphasizes on Varnashram Dharma, which is the backbone of Arya Krishti. Varnashram is an individual as well as social system of life that ensures being and becoming of every individual when the person follows the principles of Sadachar. Now, how does the person know how to follow? Only provided he takes to the living ideal, because in the living ideal, these principles are manifested, and the living ideal can direct individuals to follow or to walk on this path of Jivan Vriddhi. And further, they are also demonstrated by the Acharya, who is the enlightened Jnani Bhakta of this Supreme Lord. He inspires all others to follow this path. We are all really very, very fortunate that we have the Supreme Lord as well as the Acharya with us. Now, Sri Sri Thakur says, what is Arya आचरण आर्याचार केनो जानिस जन्मगत संस्कारेर तोषण पोषण होते मानिस means Sri Sri Thakur ji says that man cannot discard the instincts, this natural sanskar by birth that he has inherited, which he carries according to the laws of heredity. In fact, he can work around his instincts only, and he would pick up from the environment those things that would nurture and fulfill his instincts. A very important principle Sri Sri Thakurji has stated over here. He has actually revived this Arya Sanatan Dharma and tradition with its tenfold samskar or fivefold yajna. How? To suit it best to the modern age of science and technology. So in this regard, he is the greatest revolutionary who has provided us practical solutions in all spheres of life. When someone asked Guruji, what is the meaning of tenfold samskara? He replied that seers classified these normal instincts of the individual and developed these 10 practical methods, right from Garbhadan, Pusavan, he talks of Simantonayan, Jatakarma, Namakaran, Annaprashan, Chudakaran, Upanayan, Samavartan and Vivaha. And when these processes are performed, they lead to the all-round development and improvement of the normal instincts of the individual. That is the Dashavidha Samskara. For example, Sri Sri Thakur has explained it in a very nice way. For example, in Garbhadan Samskar, there is a provision made for begetting a good progeny. Whichever instinct and temperament that prevails at the time of the are the determinants of what type of progeny they will conceive. And therefore, this Garbhadan Samskar is to manipulate the psychophysical stimulus in such a way so as to attract the best souls to beget the best progeny. Sri Sri Thakur has given a very important, significant message that the meeting of virtuous men and chaste females is the sign of chaste offspring. Now, just to have this particular bhava at the time of union to beget good progeny is not possible because it cannot be imported as a thing one can get or as a medicine. For that bhava to arouse in the mind of both the husband and wife at the time of union, their upbringing, their education must have had been in that direction. And that is why it was a tradition in the Aryan culture to send the child to Gurukul to get proper education, wherein he would understand by going to the feet of the master the importance of seva, swasthya, good deeds, that is sadachar, and that would shape his personality into a strong, healthy, intelligent, and mature adult who would be fit to perform his duties before, on entering Gruhasthashram. Sri Sri Thakurji says ashram is where the evolution of man to godhood is accomplished through following sadachara, through seva, through tapas. So those couples who are desirous for the progeny, they would perform, say, the Garbhadan Vidhi under the directions of the Purohit and engage then in the physical. Sri Sri Thakurji has given one example which would be of interest here. He says that if a couple went to see a play, a theatre play, which is based upon the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and after returning from the play, they were engrossed in talking about the life and teachings of Chaitanya Dev. They were elevated by his life and glory. And then they happened to unite with carrying that bhava in mind. Then the progeny they will have would carry this instinctively and would sing and dance Hari Bol for sure, Dayal Thakur says, if a couple is of that, carrying that bhav. On the other hand, if the couple had some other vicious thoughts, they were casual about their surroundings, even not worn clean and nice clothes, the bed they are using is not clean, tidy, and if they enter into physical union in such conditions of body, mind, intellect, and surroundings, they would invite a progeny that would in his life be seen hunting after the street dogs only. These are very alarming words Sri Sri Thakurji has used. Why? Because he wants our attention to be taken in a seriously to this issue. Now, if a man is the offspring of God, that divinity resides within all of us, then it should reflect in the person's character and conduct, isn't it? But we see that there are people of different qualities, different tendencies, and rather than reflecting the godhood in them, many are indulged in the acts that are destructive or detrimental to the society. So why this happens? For this, Sri Sri Thakur has gone to the root cause of the problem. And he says, if we try to understand the explanation what he gives, we will realize how with the scientific clarity he has dealt with the whole issue. Sri Sri Thakurji says that inception plays the most important role over here. Inception means the very moment the sperm of the father fertilizes the mother ovum in the mother's womb, and that the zygote is impregnated with the soul that is formed in the womb of the mother. The character, the conduct, the behavior, as well as the efficiency, achievements, and the very personality, the nature of the individual, which is grown out of this zygote, depends basically on the intrinsic nature of the Jaivi Sangsthiti. This is a word coined by Sri Sri Thakurji in the individual. Now, according to modern scientific understanding, the genetic makeup of the individual, what we call a genotype, and its expression as a phenotype, okay, decide the nature of the individual born. But here we must understand that any attempt to manipulate the genetic makeup, use of gene enhancing techniques, research into creating superhumans is something very, very different than what Sri Sri Thakurji is saying in the context of following the principles of eugenics. He has put forth a concept of Jaivi Samsthiti that at present science is not able to comprehend. I mean, it has a tremendous potential of research where it lies in understanding this. Sri Sri Thakurji does not deny the role of genes in making of the individual, but he ascribes all the credit to Jaivi Samsthiti. Jaivi Samsthiti, the English meaning which is synonymous or near to it can be at the most biological makeup. Okay. So the Jaivi Samsthiti in the individual is determined at the time of inception. Now Thakurji says how intensely the sperm is attracted to the ovum, how much both the sperm and the ovum are compatible, first on genetic grounds. Second, the extent of eagerness with which the ovum receives the sperm with all its attributes and potentialities. These factors, they decide the Jaivi Samsthiti. So it is this Jaivi Samsthiti that governs how the individual being will happen to display his self. And therefore, the inception plays a paramount role in the production of or begetting a good progeny, which has instincts, sublime nature, and an unadulterated Jaivi Samsthiti. Sri Sri Thakur has given a message on that also, but he gives a good example. I think that will be more helpful for us to understand. He gives an example of oleander tree. Okay, Sri Sri Thakurji says that one oleander tree forever yields white colored flowers and the other one produces red colored flowers. So you have oleander of two different colors that have been blooming in two different plants, and this continues year after year, generation after generation. You don't see any alteration in it. Now the plant which is grown from the seed of white oleander will also yield the oleander flowers of white color, and that from red will produce ever the red color flowers. Now, why this difference is? This particular difference is related to the characteristic arrangement in the Jaivi Samsthiti, which is latent in the two different plants of such type. Now, in our modern civilization, there is plenty of provision for the betterment of human condition. Like we can provide better environmental conditions with respect to health, education, economic conditions, social, political, so on and so forth. But they cannot help the man to evolve with the peaceful and balanced progress towards eternal becoming. For advancement in evolutionary progress, what is required is that the individual must be born with an intrinsically better, unadulterated Jaivi Samsthiti, greater potentiality and higher instincts. So Sri Thakurji says that man picks up from the environment according to the nature of his instinct, and his Jaivi Samsthiti utilizes those things from the environment as it can maneuver what is picked up. Now, some education is there of the opinion that if you provide a very good environment, I mean nurture, an ordinary person can turn out a genius. Sri Thakurji does not deny the role of education and environment. He says that environment will no doubt work, but it will work only around the Jaivi Samsthiti of the man. So, he says it great difference between acquisition of characters or traits and the instincts. And there he has given the example of the mathematician Newton. I think last time this was a message related to this from the Alochana was read in Satsanga. Thakurji says that Newton was mathematician by instincts. So we may find many mathematicians who had greater knowledge than Newton, but then no one can take his position as far as the instinctive knowledge of mathematics of Newton is concerned. So by instinct, Sri Thakur indicates the inherited characteristics or qualities, and he differentiates it, giving the examples of, say, how heart beats, ears listen, eyes see. Now these functions or attributes are inbuilt and they are expressed naturally. They are not acquired traits. If they are not given proper nourishment and conducive environment for the qualities, they would remain unexpressed. So the importance of Anushilan is stated over there. Wherever Sri Thakurji says there are defects or flaws in his inherent instincts, he says surely somewhere the pratilom must have taken place. Now, before we go to this anulom and pratilom, I would like to first mention that how he is giving us actually a solution to bring these marriage reforms and for begetting the good progeny. Sri Thakurji is very confident. He says that birth is more important determinant than the environment, because the inherent potentialities, say for example in the seed, makes the plant differ from one another in their characteristic like taste, flavor, and its nutritive properties. Similarly, says individuals of different Jaivi Samsthiti and potentialities, they grow up in different types of personalities. In the process, therefore, the man picks up necessary nourishment from the environment according to his inherent instincts. And there, Sri Thakurji is so confident about this truth that the message which is being shared over here, he says, if science does not know this fact, it will know if it investigates. So if the better progeny is not born with better instincts and unadulterated Jaivi Samsthiti, whatever may be the arrangement for education, for religious teachings, man will fail to respond to it. Now the question comes that what is exactly the better progeny? Individual beings which are born with this unadulterated Jaivi Sanskriti, the sublime instincts and greater potentiality may be called as a better progeny. But all these attributes do not grow out or sprout from the soil. They develop in the man through the stream of blood. And therefore, to enrich each and every individual being with these attributes through inception, proper eugenic adjustment, according to Sri Sri Thakurji, is very much necessary. Without proper eugenic adjustment and without happy conjugal relationship between the husband and wife, better and flawless inception of the individual being is far behind from the possibility. Now, according to Sri Sri Thakurji, to marry is a normal hankering. Why? It is at the basis. Our Shastra also says that the very sankalpa with which this Srishti is created, Eko Aham Bahusyam, same sankalpa resonates in limited way in all the beings. The very inner instinct in man is to be rendered into multiple individuals. We want to continue our existence, and we often say that our forefathers live through us. So from this instinctive hankering, there is a tendency towards unification between the man and women, which are seen as two sides of Ishvara in our culture, that is Prakriti and Purush. This tendency of unification, according to Sri Sri Thakurji, must be well adjusted in such a way that healthy, intelligent, smart, and able individuals take birth. Individuals with godly qualities, with active inclination towards the path of being and becoming, they are born. And therefore, the source of good progeny is marriage reforms, good vivaha, suvivaha. In Nana Prasange, Dayal Thakur has emphasized that the sooner we are able to rectify marriage system, we can bring back our lost glory, which was there by following Rishi tradition. And atmosphere of the nation would be improved. By this, number of intelligent, smart, and mature people in the country would increase, and then only any nation would prosper. The marriage system, which is given by the seers, is rooted actually in this science of eugenics. And Sri Sri Thakurji has not only explained how one can apply this in his life, but he followed the same. And therefore, we see the advent of God-man in Thakur family. The Acharya Parampara which he has given to us, are they not the living proofs of what he has said in relation to marriage and eugenics? Nowadays, see, young generation often finds it rather unscientific or maybe stupid to follow the age-old tradition of marriage and the do's and don'ts we call as vidhi nishedh given by Arya Krishti. They are looked upon as hurdles and against the freedom to choose the life partner. The role of vidhi nishedh can be understood, but with a simple example. If apple seeds of same quality, say, are planted in two different soils, okay, the resultant apples would grow in both regions, although are the products of same bejas, they would certainly differ in their appearance, texture, flavor, taste, which we can judge by simple sensory evaluation. So what is the cause of difference? It is the soil, water, and the air in that region that together provide a nourishment to the bija or the seeds. So it is the role of the female to provide the nurture, and to provide the bija, the role of function of the male. And now the role of Varna becomes extremely important here in determining the quality of bija. Because in the bija, the qualities of forefathers, their characteristics are carried through blood. Many people are of the opinion that the progeny, when reared through proper nurture after birth, provided conducive environment, good education, good health and social development, it can turn into best individual, no matter what is a germ line. However, this can be disproved by a simple argument. Say, for example, when how much nourishment you provide, say, to a cotton plant, it can produce cotton only, it cannot yield you silk. That means even the best education can at the most unfurl the hidden potentialities and characteristics which the child bears in him. It can make him prosper, but it cannot bring any transformation in the natural instincts with which the individual is born. So, Sri Thakurji says, Vivaha Manusher Pradhan Duiti Kamna Ke Paripuran Kare. What are they? There are two mainly aspects. What are the two reasons for marriage? तार एकटी ऊर्ध्वर्धन अन्यटी सुप्रजनन अनुपयुक्त विवाह ए दुईटी के खिन्न करिया तो सावधान विवाह के खेलना भावियो ना जहाते तुम्हार जीवन हो जनन जड़ित. In short, Sri Thakurji draws our attention to two important aspects of marriage. First is biological evolution through genetic enrichment. Second is begetting good progeny, that is cultural enrichment. If there is wrong marriage, it will hamper both. And therefore, Sri Thakur says that do not consider marriage as a game of pleasure to satisfy only sexual urge. Your life and tradition of your future generation is deep rooted in marriage. And therefore, he says it is neither a contract of mutual cooperation or an agreement. Through marriage, the stream of man's biological evolution and development remains unhindered. And therefore, it is essential to have consistency and compatibility among heredity, personal habits, behavior, and temperament of both the bride and the bridegroom. Now, all-round compatibility in the marriage would help to create compatible union between the sperm and the ovum to a larger extent. And Sri Thakurji gives here the example of a compatible seed and the soil from the botanical world. She says that father sows the seed of life, that is the sperm, in the soil, ovum, in mother's womb. And mother nurtures the seed with nutrition and nourishment and turns this seed into the human form. The wealth and attributes which are latent in the sperm, they come to be embodied in the child to the extent it receives the nurture and nutrition by the ovum. So in order to have a child with enriched and unadulterated Jaivi Sansthiti, sublime instincts, greater potentiality, compatible combination of the sperm and the ovum is a must. And there Sri Thakurji has used beautiful terms. They are so scientific. He says bio-vigored seed must be sown into bio-eager soil. As to bio-vigored seed and bio-eager soil, Sri Thakurji says, if male possesses active attachment and eagerness to fulfill his ideal, then the very existence in the form of sperm will come to be illumined with the luster of vigor and energetic growth. If the female happens to have devotion, love, and attachment to such husband, then an inviting faculty of receptive eagerness will grow in psyche, in physic also, and later on it will impress the ovum with those characteristics. And in that condition, when she conceives her husband's sperm cordially and nurtures it thoroughly, the probability ingrained in the sperm get a greater scope to be manifested in the progeny. One last point I would discuss and I will stop. There was one question which was asked by Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das to Sri Thakurji, that Thakur, we lack good people. At that time, Sri Thakurji said that proper marriage reform and eugenic principles, if followed thoroughly, within 25 years, the nation would be flooded with able, intelligent, and all-round healthy people on whom we can rely and look upon to bring back the glory of our nation. The most significant aspect in the man-making, Sri Thakurji says, is marriage system and eugenics, towards which the leaders in the society have not paid attention. Therefore, since Varnashram system is the backbone of marriage, unless its sanctity and purity is maintained, Marriage reforms are not possible. Now, the moment we talk about Varna Ashram, lot of controversies arise. But what Sri Sri Thakurji means by Varna is those cultural groupings that help to indicate the hereditary qualities of a person, biological traits. So Sri Sri Thakur wanted us to maintain the distinctiveness of these groupings in a homogeneous way so that the cultural traits which a particular Varna represents are maintained in an identifiable way. We all know that, like, these are far from current research. A lot of research is definitely required if we want to identify. Because, say for example, when Sri Sri Thakurji says that those who disobey the Varnashram tend to indulge in pratilom marriages, and progeny that results from such marriage will always be of destructive mentality. It's born with the vices of resisting the life and growth, of resisting the Arya Krishti, and it becomes straight to this society. Marriage of a boy of the upper Varna with the girl of a same Varna is ideal, which is called as a Anulom Savarna Vivaha. But if it is the other way, that means Sri Sri Thakurji has said that a Shudra can be a guru of a Brahmin, but he cannot marry the daughter of Brahmin. Now, this thing, if we look at it just as a single statement, it will bring a lot of issues and there would be a lot of debate. Why all this? Because, as please remember, that here Sri Sri Thakurji is not at all promoting discrimination, not at all in favor of caste system and the all the limitations and the problems which society faces out of that. He has taken a total different view, which is so scientific, and therefore he says that you have to investigate and you will reach to the same conclusion, because what I'm telling, I see, what I tell is what I see, that only. Okay, so as far as this marriage of the boy of the lower Varna with the girl of the upper Varna, which is considered as a pratilom vivaha. Okay. Now, Sri Sri Thakurji says it is most harmful, not only to that family, but to entire society. He has even discussed about Sukshma Pratiloma, Anulom, Asavarna marriages. But main thing, apart from Varna, which has to be taken into consideration, is Vansha, what is we call as clan, which is within the same Varna. There are different Vansha Parampara. Gives an example, say one family is inclined to following principles of Sadachar, while the other family doesn't pay much attention to it. Then even if the bride and the bridegroom are matching as far as the Varna is concerned, there is incompatibility in such marriages. Sri Sri Thakur says that we should be very careful while choosing the best breed for, say for example, for cow and other pet animals or domesticated animals. We are careful while selecting the seeds and test the compatibility with the soil, provide proper manure and nourishment to have high quality crop yield, but we do not pay. Why we don't pay that attention to the principles which are applicable for begetting good progeny in human being? And the last point which I would like to mention is the important aspect of the compatibility between the two. Here Sri Sri Thakurji says that the manovritti anusarini bharya, this concept he has emphasized in Vivaha Vidhan. This does not mean that it is a result of male dominated culture, because it gives freedom. Sri Sri Thakurji also gives freedom to the choice of the girl for the suitable boy or the husband. And the burden of responsibility is actually onto the man of high virtues. Is okay, because if he wish to enter Grihasthashram, such a person is considered only fit for the marriage who is surrendered to the ideal first, who can consciously take decisions to lead to the path of dharma, who is able to regulate his complexes and turn them towards the path of Ishta, takes responsibility of the family to provide them with the necessary resources to progress in the life. And then the woman who is desirous to marry, Sri Sri Thakurji says, would naturally have high regards and respect for such a man. And if both are compatible on the grounds of Varna, Vangsha, then to each other, then such a marriage can bring God-men to birth. So Sri Sri Thakur has emphasized on paying attention. In compatibility, what he wants is to pay attention to the general health, the age factor, the earning capacity and education. One should not consider marrying in the family, according to Sri Sri Thakur, having a history of contagious diseases or sexually transmitted diseases, certain mental disorders. He has given us all such an incredible wealth of knowledge. What we lack today is the scientific research on these principles. And I feel personally that as a satsangi, we should be able to inspire young minds, young researchers to take up this as a problem of research, as well as we should be following, or we should be able to propagate these principles to young generation so that they would take up the marriage system or marriage reformations which are indicated or given by Sri Sri Thakurji to suit to the modern circumstances and current age, and we would be then able to have really a good progeny. The dream of begetting Dev Manav on this mother earth would become a reality if we are able to propagate this message, follow it, and encourage more and more research on it. So with this, I think I have exceeded a bit of time. So I would just like to conclude here. There are many aspects, many aspects, but the problem is it is difficult to cover all of them in the short time span. And yes, definitely, we have to have a lot of study and research into it. So once again, thank you all of you for giving me this opportunity, and I hope that whatever time we tried to understand and discuss, by the grace of Sri Sri Thakurji, we must have at least picked up something which is significant from what he wants to convey to us. Jai Guru.
Well, I just wanted to say that Dr. Moideen Levi, you have given a very good, wonderful speech on this so critical and so difficult subject. And we must appreciate that it is not easy to cover this subject in actual one session. We wish that we could have series of sessions on this. But I think as a first session, all of us have got a very good insights about the Sri Sri Thakur's marriage information principles and in the light of eugenics, and you very nicely explained that how people used eugenics in wrong way, and so why people in the West still consider this could be as a sort of division in the society. But
Yes. Yes.
But we are really fortunate that we came to Sri Sri Thakur, and Sri Sri Thakur is probably the most advanced scientist so far born in the world. So he has given so insight. Well, the modern science has not even found the clues, but he has guaranteed that if the modern science has spent time, they will
Yes.
find what Thakur is saying. I think this is really a great session.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it is definitely a challenging topic, but I think that because we have no conflict, or we 100% know that whatever is coming from Sri Sri Thakur is eternal, always true. But if you look from the point perspective of how to look at the scientific aspect, then we need to clarify on these issues, that what eugenics means to scientific community and what Sri Sri Thakur intends or hints at are two different things. And our line of research, we should plan this research in a proper way so as to verify, and we will reach to this conclusion definitely.
So it was a kind of